This episode is brought to you by In the Crew 512, Austin's first and only streetwear brand. If you're from Austin or even if you just love the city, make sure you check out inthecrew.com. Use the code HALFTIME for 15% off your entire order. Now, enough of me talking. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of Halftime Company. Man, I'm so excited about this episode. I have somebody really special to me sitting next to me. This person is charting in a lot of ways in not only education but in life. They're doing some very special things. I'm very excited to bring this person to y'all family because this is a very important podcast to me, and I hope that it's a very important podcast to you. And the person that I'm bringing to you is not only my cousin and a very special person, but she's a very special person in the city that she's working in, and that is Miss Charli. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for pulling up to Austin, Texas, and hanging out with me on the podcast. I thank you so much for pulling up. Before we get started, and before we start talking about some real good stuff, I want to ask you to tell our people, the people that's watching, who you are, where you from, and what you do. Those three things.
Okay, I'm Charli. I'm from Freeport, Texas, and I am currently a fifth grade math teacher aspiring to be an educational diagnostician.
That's amazing. What made you want to even be a teacher in general? Now, I'm not talking about mathematician, because that's hard. I can't even think about doing math. But what made you want to be a teacher? Because in the times that we live in, especially in today, teachers are very hard to come by.
Right.
So what made you want to do that?
Well, I'm going to say this. Off the rip, I did not want to become a teacher. But the way that life was thrown at me, it was kind of forced upon me. And once I started teaching, I definitely fell in love with it. Being able to bond with the kiddos, make those connections, just to kind of give teaching in that classroom environment like a whole nother shift, take it to a whole nother realm.
How were you when you were a kid and you were in the classroom? Like, how do you take that experience into what you're doing now?
Well, growing up, I did not want to go to school. I mean, I only wanted to go to socialize and see friends and just have a good time, haha, kiki. And going into the classroom, you see the same old thing over and over. The teachers want to implement that instruction and that's it, go home, have a great day. And so for me, coming into that classroom, given that different paradigm, setting the tone for my classroom, setting those engaging activities, changing the environment, the climate in the classroom, just, I mean, it's crazy. Kids will work for in a more, what is that, like a lively way.
Okay, yeah. Like they're more like engaged
Yes.
in their activity because of whatever they're doing. Is what
Yeah.
you're saying? Yeah.
Yes, they are. They're like little mini adults. Like, of course, you're not going to go somewhere where it's dry and it's dull and it's the same old repetitive thing. You want to go somewhere that's lively, that's, like going to a club. You want to hear the vibrant music. You want to hear those beats that with the extra bass in it.
And I love that you said that because, like, I feel as if I'm new. So a lot of people that don't know this, I just started subbing, and it's dope, man. I love subbing, but I have a lot to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and I can learn a lot from you. And one thing that I've learned from subbing is that kids really do want to connect with people.
Right.
They don't want to just be in a classroom. And what you're saying is that you're trying to draw things up to connect them
Right.
with each other.
Right.
How does that process look?
Well, first off, when you're meeting these group of kids, they don't know you, you don't know them, right? So you kind of have to fill them out. That's like going out on a dating scene. When you want to figure out if you like somebody, you have to get to know them, know what they like, know what their interests are. Like I shy away from like those icebreaker kind of games. Like that's just like the dry, typical type of introduction games. So what I do is like we sit around, I'll move all the desks around, we'll sit in a round circle, and there's this game called like Me Too. So for an example, we can be sitting around and I can say, oh, well, I like I like Carrie Hilson, and somebody can say me too. Or they can say, I like to
Mm,
dress in crop tops, and somebody can say me too. And the only way that you can speak is if you're saying me
me
too.
too. I like that because then in a way you connecting kids without having them to do all the hard work,
Right,
right? Like if a kid here is like, oh, I like dressing, I don't know, emo. Then another kid that likes to dress emo hears that, and then now they it's like I have a connection with this person. I can
right,
go talk to him. I
right,
that that gap is already bridged now
right,
because you did the work just to simply ask people, what do you like?
right. Building that classroom environment like a little family. You know what I mean? It's called lowering the affective filter.
So it's almost like the little things, the
Hmm.
simple things is what really bridge people together is what you're
Right,
saying.
right,
It's not like the let's do this, let's do that, let's do this big old project
right,
to make people come together. It's not, I'm just asking a question.
right.
And you say what you say, and then me too.
Hmm.
And now somebody can look over and be like, you like me?
We like the same thing, building
Oh,
those
dope.
relationships.
That's amazing. And what group do you said fifth grade?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade.
So like those preteen, teen.
Why did you want to go with that age?
I feel like that's that age that definitely needs that extra hand on them in a more positive way. They need that little fine tune switch.
Okay. That's amazing. Because I couldn't do no damn fifth grade kids.
That's the
I,
best group.
I couldn't do it.
That's the best group.
I feel like they would be on my head
Well,
24/7.
you know what? I'm gonna say this. In order for you to establish that healthy and that nurturing environment, you have to have that management. You got to have great classroom management. And I'm not just saying great, I should say you have to be firm, you have to be stern, you have to set those boundaries, those healthy boundaries. This is the time that you can talk, this is the time that I'm going to talk. We're respectful to all parties no matter what you like, what you don't like, you're going to be respectful.
So, hmm, you said something there. Classroom management. Where do you start with that? Because like every kid is different,
Right?
right?
Mhm.
So you might have a kid that's I don't know, very extroverted.
Mhm.
You might have a kid that's very introverted.
Mhm.
And because that extroverted kid is talking not loud, but talking,
Mhm.
that might mess with the introverted kid who really don't like any talking when they study and doing whatever they're doing. So
Right.
how do you manage that balance?
Well, it's kind of like you match that extroverted with the introverted kid. You what is it called? Like the blended seating. Like of course, I'm not going to sit all the introverted kids together. I'm not going to sit all the extroverted. You have a mixture of both. You have those in between too. So I like to do like they say a high, medium and a low. So a extroverted kid with a kid that is sometimey extroverted sometimes, introverted others, and then that introverted kid and you'll be amazed by the end of the year how much they blossom and grow.
Wow. So question, because I'm curious about this. Why is it important to you, or why do you feel that it's important to you to be a teacher in today's world?
Just like how we grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, it is so different. They have too many extra of those negative stimuli out in the world where they're easily to be persuaded. They're like little sponges. They hear something, the latest trend, they soak it up, and that's what they do. In this generation, they tend to just act impulsively. So I think that this is a great climate to be able to reach out and touch.
That sounds like purpose work to me.
Right.
That
Purpose driven.
that
Everything you do is with purpose and
it,
intent.
but it don't. But what you saying is, it don't seem like you doing this because like you want to be rich or you want to have fame or you
I mean, it's
like
all
that. That
being
was like yo,
genuine.
you're like from me, from what I saw as your cousin, looking at everything, you went right into this.
Right.
There was no like, I want to be famous. I want to do this. I want to do that. There was no. Like, it was all purpose.
Right.
So I guess my question is like, what did God change in your mind, or how did He play with your heart in a way like to make you want to do this?
I started teaching in a very vulnerable point in my life. And, having a child young, you miss out on those opportunities with your child. You miss out on, like the milestones. And a lot of parents do that now. And just to be able to have a hand in fostering a child in a positive way.
Yeah, you just brought it up. I love that you said that. How was that
Detrimental.
with
Um,
your child? The beautiful
detrimental.
girl that you have. How
Detrimental.
was that?
That was it
And
occurred at
what age was it, by the way?
I was 20 and I had her
Okay.
at 21.
Okay.
So very detrimental. I went to college um literally for one semester, and of course, I just thought, how everybody thinks they're in love, they have a great relationship, and I came home and that's when everything popped off. I got pregnant. Um only had a high school diploma to my name, no job, and I lost my drive, I lost my ambition, I lost sight of my goal. Um, and actually laying eyes on her, having her, I was like, damn, I got to do something with my life. I can't just sit around here and be what they call a statistic. Like, I definitely, you know, I'm my own motivation. Well, I can't give all credit to myself, but the man above, like, just having that inspiration, that ambition, that drive, that will to just want to do better and not just be a statistic, you know, and being successful. And when I mean successful, I don't mean in money. I mean in wealth and knowledge. I mean having a hand in the community to be able to inspire and uplift and empower kids and motivate them, to be on the right track.
That's amazing. And I love that you allowed yourself to experience the fullness of that, right? Like you could have easily quit.
Right.
You could have copped out. You said, "Oh, I'm not doing this. Let me send her over to another home or another family." You
Right.
could have said, "No, mama, you watch the kid. I don't want to watch the kid. I made a mistake and I don't want to deal with the ramifications of it."
Right.
You didn't do that. You face it head on.
Yeah. And it's more rewarding.
It's more
I can
rewarding.
see that now. It's definitely more rewarding. Even though late nights studying, juggling work, juggling a child that was not the easiest. Um, it was crazy
And how's that relationship now?
with my child.
Hmm.
It's the most beautiful thing. Like it makes you emotional just thinking about it.
And it was all
Like,
because of the work that you did.
right,
The work that you said, "Oh, I don't know if I could do it."
right,
And you did it.
right,
And now it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And that's why I want to encourage people is that you might not know that the work that's in front of you, yeah, it might look like it's hard work, it's terrible work,
right.
but if you do it, it might be the most beautiful thing in the world.
Right, and it's crazy how fast time flies. Like you always hear, "Oh, time flies." It really does. And especially like all those late nights, like now I can sit back and be like, "Dang, I really did that."
Hmm.
Like that typical 4-year degree took me what, 5, 6 years.
Hmm.
That now I'm getting my master's. I can look back and say, "Damn, I really did it."
And that's what's beautiful. You literally, like, I don't know if y'all heard what she just said. She getting a master's now. I'm not talking about no bachelor's. I'm talking about a master's. You get your master degree. Like, you had a kid at 2021. You still say, "Hey, I'm gonna put food on the table. I'm also not only gonna put food on the table, but I'm gonna pay for a way for me to be able to go get my degree and do my thing." And I think so many times, and I've heard this, so many times people think that if I have a kid right now, I'm not ready. You are ready, but you made it happen.
Right? There's never a right time, but you have to stick with it. What is that called? Grit. The grit.
That's it. The grit. And I want to ask you one last question before we move on. What made you bite down on that mouthpiece and say, "Yeah, I'm doing this"?
There's too many of us people of color who just succumb to, the down pits, the downfalls in life. And it's like we have to do better as a people. We have to, keep pushing to make a way, make a better life for our, not only for us but for our kids.
I couldn't have said it any better.
Like anybody can do it. Anyone can do it. You just have to have that grit.
You got to have it in you.
Right.
Not on you, but
But
in
in
you.
you. And if not, you can find it.
You can find it. And it starts with God. And you
Right.
can find it. I love that. And before like the family knows, I always like to ask this question. I want to know what's something that you want to bring awareness to in this world. Like, what's something that's really important to you that you feel like everybody should be on.
Something that's very important, I would say, family connections, family bonds, having that spiritual connection with God. I mean, whether you like your family or not, but just having that peace of mind, like, you have somebody close to you in this world because this world will definitely eat you up and spit you out. Whether y'all are on good terms, great terms, like just having them in your corner or, a text, a phone call away.
That's it. And what's beautiful is like you say that, but you also are that. You
Right.
know, um, family. Y'all know how many podcasts I've done, and I have my family here with me, supporting, loving me, showing up, driving hours to sit down on the podcast with me. That's love. And what you said is so true. Like I wish so many more people in their life could have love like that. Cause you doing what you like. I know you out here for your birthday. Happy birthday! I want y'all to say happy birthday, by the way, to my girl, Miss May. But I think we all need that in our lives. Is people that want to support us and really don't care what they see from it. Just they're just there. The
Right.
presence, right?
Right.
The
The
presence
support.
is
Yeah.
just there.
Just showing up.
Just showing up. And I think if you can just show up for people, bro, you can change somebody's life. Just show up. If you show up, I'm telling you, things can change.
The impact of a familiar face.
Because you just said an impact of a familiar face. I subbed for 2 days. On the second day, it was like a lot of kids knew me.
Hmm.
They're like, "Oh, what's up, Mr. JB? How you doing? You doing good today? You need." They were like coming to my aid
Right.
in your field as a teacher, and maybe we can couple this together. I want to couple this actually.
Okay.
I want to couple the fact of why is it important to be a teacher today,
Hmm.
and the impact of being a teacher. If you can share that with the family, I think that would be impactful.
Like I said, the impact of a teacher is the impact of a familiar face. Somebody with that intentional, supportive goal for them that they have for themselves. I mean, it's almost like, a parent at a soccer game. They may lose, but their parent is there supporting them. So the loss is not going to be as bad
Right, right,
as it would be.
right. But honestly, after having experiencing what subbing a class is like, I can't imagine what teaching a class is
I
like.
know. You better have your mental intact.
You gotta you. I don't know how to say this, so please, everybody, forgive me. I'm sorry. You don't just teach just like kids, and you also teach special kids too, right?
Hmm.
Is that how you say it?
Special education.
Special
Or,
education.
like they say, it's all a preference. You can either say, a child with a disability or um, a child that is dealing with this disability.
Got you. And so how is training for that class? 'Cause I went through orientation and all that stuff, and a lot of people were like, I'm scared to go that way.
Hmm.
How is dealing with those kids on a day-to-day basis?
It's like this. You have to meet them where they're at. You can't expect anything different than you would expect of another child. It's meeting them where they're at. And that's what you do with all kids. You meet them where they're at, whether they're high, they're low, you offer the high kids that higher ordered, those critical thinking questions. And with those kids, you start on a different foundation, a different platform, and just build and work your way up.
And it's kind of cool how you said that, because like you have to be very
Strategic.
strategic, observant. Like you can't know a kid off the first day,
Right.
right? But you can kind of pick up on cues.
Right.
And so you can kind of start setting the table of how you're going to do things. But I feel like that's very hard and strategic. So I applaud you for that, because that's amazing. Like how many kids you got on a daily basis?
I have about 75.
All right. So
It's not that bad. It's only 3 classes.
Okay, so 3 classes, 20 kids each, whatever, 25, whatever it is,
Mhm.
each, 25 kids each. Special education
Special education, emergent bilingual, like English as a second language, GT, general education.
and 25 in each class.
Mhm.
So you dealing with multiple personalities,
Correct.
and you're dealing with multiple people that might be high energy, low energy, might be on just some different. Like, you dealing with a lot.
Right.
I don't know how you manage that.
You have to definitely bring your own vibration down sometimes. You have to know when to shift, like an avatar. You have to
Mm.
know when to bring that extra energy. You have to know how to, because sometimes you can be like your worst enemy. You have to know when to lower it and bring it up.
Oh, I like that. So it's not something that you go in there like, hey, this is what we doing today. Put the books on the table. I'll write my name. I'll
You
get
know
in
what?
line.
Imma say this, sometimes you can come in and maybe your class, they're tired, they had a long weekend. So, I mean, I like to do the TikTok instrumental, and, sometimes I have to exert my energy when I really don't want to. For it maybe, maybe they just need a 5-minute nap. Even though we have a lot of curriculum that we have to teach, maybe have some quiet time, relax and relaxation.
How does I want to ask you about how you differentiate how you teach your child versus how you teach other children, right?
Mhm.
So, do you teach your child the same way that you teach other children? And how is child development, and how does that look in your eyes when you're saying, hey, here's this child
Mhm.
and here's this curriculum I gotta give them?
Mhm.
Do you just give it to them, or you say, no, I gotta like add to it so they can get the full picture and the full spectrum of what this is?
Okay, so starting off with, do I teach my child the way I teach, other people's? And the answer is, of course, absolutely, 100%. I mean, when you teach, it's like they say, reach one, teach one. You, as a parent, and I would hope that they do the same for my child, you teach that child like anyone else.
Hmm.
It's no, "Oh, well, they're a little bit more difficult to work with." Yeah, we might think that, but we have to reach them and meet them where they're at.
Hmm.
And as far as curriculum, no, I don't. I mean, some kids can handle that. Not all kids can. So it's something called scaffolding where you give them a little bit at a time. That's like if you eat a steak, do you just bite into it or do you cut it up?
The facts.
So, whenever you are introducing something, especially at this vital age of 5th grade, they're learning concepts that they've never learned, or they can go from multiplying a one digit numbers to now they have to know how to multiply 3 digit by 2 digit. So, you definitely start with the bases, the fundamentals. Some kids, my lower kids, or the kids that take a little bit longer to reach mastery, what I do is something called pre-teach. So I'll pull them in a small group, no more than 5 or 6 if I can, or if it's sometimes I have time to do an even smaller group. So you pre-teach vocabulary, you pre-teach those fundamental basic skills that they must know in order to move on or to master that concept that I'm trying to reach. I mean, if you want to
If
see that growth and development, you have to pour into your kids just like a flower. You have to pour that water into that flower pot in order to watch it grow.
do you feel so? Let me ask you this question as well. Being an educator and also being a mother,
Mhm.
do you feel as if being an educator is also helping you be a better mother? Or do you think that being a mother is helping you be a better educator?
Um it flip-flops. It's very diverse. For an example for my kid, sometimes I'm very lackadaisical on bedtime. And I see some kids coming in and then they are just like dirt tired, right? And so I'm like, damn, I need to do better with making sure that my kid gets in bed on time. That way she can perform to the best of her ability.
Hmm. I like that. I think that how how you're approaching it, it seems as if that you're approaching it with full like molding, like mold me, God, show me how to do this the best way I can do it. That way I can take this information
And
that you
implement it.
downloaded to me and implement it into everybody's life.
Right, because there's no guide for parenting. There's no guide. The only way you will know how to be the best parent is those life experiences.
That's it. And what is one life experience that you think that really shaped everything that you're doing right now?
One life experience. I'm gonna say growing up in a close knit family, having that family orientation, that support. Because I mean, you'd be surprised how many kids lack support, even in the two parent households, the $1 million homes, how much they lack support. Um,
Damn.
Having those routines and structure and discipline.
That's I didn't even think about it like that. You just said something. You could be in a $2 million home, $5 million, $10 million home, and have no support,
It's true.
and you feel just like the person that's right down the block that's in a $50,000 shack,
One parent household.
one parent household that got their parent, and you feel like you worse than them.
Right.
What have you noticed that's different from the time that you started? You started in what, 2019?
2019, yeah.
2019.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's 2025.
Right.
What differences, what changes have you seen from that? Because again, like we looking at teachers dropping off.
Right.
We looking at nobody really coming to the scene to be able to teach these kids.
Right.
What's going on?
I'm gonna say, of course, starting off, we had the pandemic. The pandemic shifted the dynamic of teaching and also to the classroom culture. We have more. They went from strictly virtual, well, being in person. COVID hit, all the way virtual, and then coming back, being integrated back into the classroom, where it's like, dang, we can't learn through the computer anymore. We can't have access to get on, you know, TikTok or whatever they choose to get on. And we have to learn face to face, like getting over that hurdle. So, um, social media is definitely a big influence to these kiddos now.
Yeah.
Not all negative, but
But you
a
also
lot of.
see like some kids I mean, I learned Spanish online.
I'm gonna say this though, like I said earlier, meeting them where they're at. So of course they like the TikTok dances, they like the little
Oh,
catchy little songs. So any given moment, I like to incorporate in learning. And I know when we went to school, we called it PEMDAS, but now, and it's the order of operation, but now they call it GymDOS. So of course, when I got back into the classroom, I'm like, what the heck is this? We just automatically knew that the P was for any type of grouping symbol, but now the G, it's a G, so it's GymDOS. And so you know that song, First Class,
mm-hmm.
Living the Life. So now there's like a little song, and it's like, we're doing GymDOS up in my class of expressions. You get it, but
Yeah,
yes. So
yeah.
of course, so now I can see them, especially when they're taking Star, they're like singing it while they're solving it. And I'm like, okay, well, now I did something good. And no, I can't take credit to that. I found that on YouTube.
You can take credit to that, and you should take credit to that because you put that in. They wasn't gonna find that.
Right.
You found that, and you said, "Let me use this and put it in their life." And then all of a sudden, now you help them learn more
Hmm.
than they probably was gonna learn before you stepped into the classroom.
Right.
You gotta remember that
Yeah.
because And I hope this is encouragement to a lot of teachers. Like what you see online, this is a connected world, right?
Right.
So we have to say, hey, you know what? If this is a connected world, let me drive on this bridge to see how far I can go.
Yeah, and also too, I'm gonna say this as far as teaching, the achievement gaps they're widening.
Mm.
Kids maybe in fifth grade, but they're really not on the fifth grade level. So I could see in that light where a lot of teachers are like, having to teach fifth grade curriculum to a student who's on a first grade level, you
It's
know,
difficult.
it's difficult, but it's doable. And meeting them where you're at, like you have to be in this profession, not for the money, but that goal of flowering that water and
What you're
that.
saying is that you gotta be in this profession
Right.
and you gotta be in it. You can't be on it because it changes all the time. So
Mhm.
if you in it, that means you can change with it. But if you own it, that means that you change when it changes.
Right.
Like you don't want that.
It's
You want to be
consistency.
in it. So it's like almost being in the middle of the water when the wave goes up. You want to be in the middle of the wave versus being on top of the wave because the wave get bigger. You don't know where you're gonna go. But if
Right.
you're in the middle, it's calm.
Right.
That's where you want to be.
Right.
And I love that you were saying, like, if I'm an educator, I'm going to dive into education and I'm going to give
Right, and doing that
back.
extra research, you know? You can't teach a kid and not know what they like. You can't teach a kid and know how they connect, how they learn. Because, like, I mean, what does the book say? Like, there's like 5 or 6 different types of learners. You have the kinesthetic learners that like to move around,
You got
you have
audio, you got visual, you know what I'm
right,
saying? You got people that like to hear things.
right,
Everybody's different.
right. Like, I have one of my kiddos, of course, he has a lot of energy, and I wish I could have a lot of energy like that, and he cannot sit still. So I have one of those little, inflatable balls, and I'll just let him roll around his little work area,
Mhm.
and he'll work
Bounce
perfectly.
around.
He will work perfectly. I did a little trial and error test on something that wasn't for a grade, but I just wanted to see how he would perform, and I gave him one in a regular chair, and he didn't do so great, but I let him do his thing and, get his juices flowing, and he did immaculate.
It's kind of crazy how you said, "Hey kid, I want you to do well,
Mhm.
but I want you to do well how you do well,
Right.
not how I want you to do well."
Right.
So you gave him the opportunity to do what he do, and
Mhm.
you saw his performance spike
Right.
because he was operating out of a space
Right.
that he was comfortable in
Right. And I'm gonna
versus operating in the space that you forced him in.
Right. And some people may say that's not grade level appropriate. Well, it's kind of like a give and take. You let him work how he needs to work, but you also establish those rules, regulations, and routines. Like whenever we're taking an actual test, yes, I'm letting you do your thing now, but we're going to have to find something different to, help you balance out the movement.
How do you start that conversation though?
I said, look, I'm gonna allow you to sit on this little flexible seating, this little bouncy rolly ball, and you're gonna take your test. However, when it's time to take the actual test, maybe I might give you a rubber band or something small and tangible
To
that they
play
can still
with,
move around, a fidget, something, and then something that's not even like it's not costly. So, improvising.
yeah, improvising is really the key.
Right, because a lot of teachers might say, "Well, I don't have money for this. My school doesn't have money for that." You can go buy a 100 pack of rubber bands for 75 cents or $1 at the store. Finding those
That's
different
that's kind
little
that's
meth
kind of crazy how you, and it's really not incumbent on you to do that, right? Like it's not your job to do that.
Right.
You're taking your precious time outside of work because you're not thinking about. You might think about it during work. We got so much other stuff going
Mhm.
on outside of work. You thinking about how can I make this kid comfortable? How can I? You working more than you working,
Right.
and then you take that to work to help those kids be better people.
Right.
That is a blessing. You are being a blessing to people. You are being literally a model, an individual where kids are going to look back one day and say, I had the best teacher. I still do that. I don't know if you can think about your best teachers.
I can.
I think about them all
I
the
definitely
time.
can.
So it's just amazing to know that you do that. And so I guess my last question I want to ask is, what's one message that you could give to teachers? Like if you can only say one thing to teachers, like what would you say?
I would say the message is to, meet the students where they're at, no matter what background that they come from, no matter where they come from, meeting them where they're at, um, finding those little tips and tricks, those hacks that definitely impact their learning outcome.
Mhm. And that's it. And it's really just about the learning outcome. It's not about the what you can do in your job. It's about the kids, is what you're saying.
Right.
All I can say is, again, I tell this to people that work in the army or whatever. I say thank you for your service because they protect America. But really, who we should be saying thank you for your service is our educators and our people that take care of the next generation of kids that's about to be coming forward and doing their thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you're doing that. You're at the front line of shaping America. And nobody is giving y'all flowers like that. And it's crazy to me because we want kids to come up and be the next best doctor, be the next best scientist, or be able to throw rockets in the sky like Elon, yet we don't focus on them.
Right. We don't water them. We don't pour into them. We don't nurture. We don't support. We don't pour into.
And that's all that's missing.
Right.
It's us pouring into these children for them to say, hey, you know what? Maybe being a YN is not good.
Right.
Maybe doing this is not good.
Right.
But putting my family on and doing the right way is.
Right. And of
So-
course, you're going to have those questions, the why not, but pouring into them and watching them grow.
I love that. I love that. But I thank you so much
Well,
for
thank you.
driving out here
Well, thank you
from
for
good
having
old
me.
Houston to come see me.
Yeah.
And before we get out of here, I always got to ask, if you have anything left to say to the family, to the 4,000 people that's about to be watching you, anything you want to give them at all? Last word.
I definitely want to say kudos to my village, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, all my loved ones, my family members. Thank you for the love and the support that you show me.
And that's what it is.
And God, of course, that's the main one, the head of my life.
Of
and
course.
also to my why, my Aubrey Lynn, my baby girl.
And that's, if y'all know Aubrey, I truly believe she's gonna be a beast. I feel like she's gonna be an Olympian or something. She's gonna be a massive wave in this family, and it's because of the people that she comes from. And I'm not talking about myself, obviously. I'm talking about the person that's sitting next to me. She's an amazing mother. She's an amazing educator. And again, I thank you all for listening to this message, because I think that everything you heard today is something that could not only help you in your everyday life, but help you in every kid's life. And that's what we should be doing. We should want to impact and try to uplift all the kids and everybody that's coming behind us. Because if we don't want to reach back and do anything for the people behind us, then what we here for?
Right.
What we here for? So again, I thank you for doing what you did. I wouldn't be a substitute teacher without you. I wouldn't.
All the
I wouldn't even
conversations
thought about
that we've had.
We've had a lot of conversations, y'all. But she's the one that encouraged me to say, go be a sub. You could be really good at it. And it'll be really fulfilling. And I've only done it 2 days. And I felt so fulfilled. And I wish I would have listened to her so much sooner.
And we need a lot more younger educators.
Y'all hear that?
A lot more young educators.
Especially in Texas. I think Texas got like something like 14,000 or something like that, like missing teachers or something.
You know,
it's crazy.
We need them, and it's crazy. You know, you have the summers off. I'm looking forward to that. I can finish my last master class in the summer while I'm off, and I'm still getting paid.
You about to get your master's, getting paid, and chilling.
And also, too, spending time with my child over the summer and not missing, that
quality time.
Right.
If y'all don't know, especially in this world today, where everybody getting laid off, and I was one of them, man, check your nearest school district. If you got a heart to serve, if you got a heart to help individuals become better than you, serve at your nearest school.
And you don't need a degree in education. My degree is not in education. My bachelor's is in psychology.
Mine's in kinesiology.
And you can get that teacher certification. It's $5,000. However, you can literally work and get paid teacher salary. They take, what, $500 out of your check?
And you're straight.
Right. Texas teachers.
Straight. So, lock that in. A lot of y'all I know, because I was one of them. I wasn't making no money, besides the podcast, obviously. But once I said, you know what, I can be a sub. I'm making good money. And I'm also implanting in kids' hearts the right thing to do and the right person to be.
Right.
And I think that is the key to everything.
Flexible.
Flexible. So thank y'all. I appreciate halftime. I appreciate y'all for tuning into this episode. I want y'all to give my girl Charli a follow. I'm going to put all of her stuff in. And then we're going to go from there. But outside of that, thank y'all again. And we'll see y'all soon.
Thank you for having me.